All right, listen to this, guys.
ṣé èèyàn máa ń kọ́ nǹkan téèyàn mọ̀ ni? Ṣé èèyàn máa ń sọ nǹkan èèyàn máa ń ṣe nǹkan téèyàn mọ̀ ni? You can't be a leader by name. You can't be a leader by name. Kó má lè carry out role ẹ̀. And to me, I feel like another reason why I feel like people like man of prestige, they are dangerous is because they found a safety in the worst of men. Because they know when men are worse, they feel like they are better, and they are not any less. They are not any better than those men that are doing worse. They just have a way of scavenging around and being the best version. They know that táwọn bá ti nà ìyàwó àwọn, àwọn lè máa bú ńgbà míì o, but táwọn sábà ti nà àwọn ọkùnrin wọn àtà tó ṣáà nà ìyàwó wọn. That kind of comparison is in his mind that he's better.
I agree with 110%. They know how to cover
to brothers to dare to buttress your point. The danger in him is that he has swift and sweety words.
God bless you.
Thank you.
You understand me? When you have the right suave word, like you're trying to use some words to justify the things you're doing and saying, makes you even a more dangerous person.
Sherry, brother Miodun, that was why I came in. Because I saw that he was using those words, and he made it sound like he had some credence.
God bless
and those words meant nothing.
I don't know if you could hear me when I was asking him that. What do you mean by sexual polarity?
Can you imagine?
Imagine.
Àwọn tó máa ń sọ òyìnbó yẹn torí tó bá law school kó tẹ ẹ̀kọ́ lọ primary school lásán wọ́n máa bá yé ẹ̀ jẹun.
Mo fẹ́ dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ gbogbo ẹ̀yin gifters o, àbùsí Elédùmarè.
All right. Everybody's asking who were they talking. They were talking about me. I'll give you guys the story. I'll give you guys the gist. Shout out to Uncle Bendo. I'd see you, brother. When they start to criticize you, it means you're going global. Happy for you, sir. Anyway, I'll give you the story. But before I give you the story, let me do translation because there was some Yorubas there that some of our people might not pick up. But let me do some translations there real quick. One second. Where is it? Okay, all right, here we go. She said, do you do things you don't know?
You can't be a leader by name.
Okay, you can't be a leader by name. So you can't carry out your role just by name. They were talking about being a leader in the household. I'll give you guys the full gist.
And to me, I feel like another reason why I feel like people like man of prestige, they are dangerous is because they found a safety in the worst of men.
Okay, so you guys got that. That's English, right?
Because they know when men are worse, they feel like they are better, and they are not any less.
All right, so I always say that here too. When people say they're a good man or find a good man, me, I've always said that a lot of men just pride themselves on being this good guy, and they think that's all. I just said that today. That's bare minimum. Being a good guy, being of good character, all this stuff. In the grand scheme of things, when it comes to long-term relationships, it's bare minimum and it's nonsense. You're supposed to be a good person for yourself. I've always said that too. And I think men that are Mr. Nice guys and they always, come off at the right person, they are sometimes, many a times, actually almost, when the people say most, they mean 100%. They're mostly dangerous because the emotional intelligence required to sustain long-term relationship, it tends to lack, because they think it should be good enough because they're a good guy. Women do that too, right? They think just because you're a good person, what else are you looking for other than good character? Really? Go to divorce court, you find them everywhere. So I always say that too. But these people, they didn't know me, to be fair. They didn't know me at this time. I'll tell you the full story again.
I'm not any better than those men that are doing worse. They just have a way of scavenging around and being the best version. They know that
so some men things, once you didn't beat her up, then she should just treat you like a god, like a king, and that's false, because clearly that's not the reality. If you never used to beat her, then she's not operating from that frame of reference, right? She's operating from how she felt, feelings, emotions. That's true, but they're talking about me without knowing me, so it is what it is.
You know, that kind of comparison.
So after all, some men beat their wives.
They know how to cover
to brothers to there.
And then this brother here, apparently he has been hating silently because I was speaking too much for night, but it's all good. It's okay.
To buttress your point, the danger in him is that he has swift and sweety words.
God bless.
Swift and sweety word. Me, body. I have not heard that before. As much as they said I'm speaking English, I've never really heard that before.
Thank you.
You understand me? When you have the right suave word, like you're trying to use some words to justify the things you're doing and saying.
Why is it that people, when they're arguing, they can't focus on the point of contention? They have to worry about if you're trying to use a word. So let's say I was trying to use a word in a debate, in an argument. Isn't that what I'm supposed to be doing? Why is that an issue?
Makes you even a more dangerous person.
Makes me even more of a dangerous person. You know what? In a weird, twisted way, I actually agree with them that I am dangerous. Okay? I'm very dangerous. Okay? And I will explain in a second.
That was why I came in. Because I saw that he was using those words and he made it sound like he had some credence.
I made it act like I had some credence. That's the person you just listened to is Yankee Babe. She's now my friend. Shout out to her. All of them are my friends now. I'll explain to you guys. She made it sound like you have some credence. How do you make things sound like you have credence? Okay, some people form finesse sometimes, right? Okay, all right, I can see that. I make it sound like, do I have credence or I don't have credence? It has to be one of the two. It can't be in between. Okay, some people. Okay, all right, let's continue.
God bless.
And those words meant nothing.
I don't know if you could hear me when I was asking him that. What do you mean by sexual polarity?
Can you imagine?
Imagine.
Okay, so the sexual polarity came in at some point where they kept saying they require equal to create long-term relationship. I don't think that. I think that's an oxymoron. We're literally not equal. Even no two men are equal to themselves. Some men are more physically fit than others. Some men are more spiritually fit than others. Some men are more emotionally fit than others. And many, many other things, right? So how much more when you go all the way over to the other side of the gender? I don't think equality is a real thing. And I don't think it's really needed. I think what's needed is identifying our strengths and weaknesses so that we can complement each other. That's what I think people should be focused on. But I can understand why people are focused on equality. When they start to feel like life is unfair, or a situation is not fair, or an interaction is not fair, what do? They try to force to take power. I don't think you can force to take power. You just have to take power if you do have access to the power, if you're capable of. You cannot be given power. Nobody's going to hand over power to you. You have to take it. How do you do that? You identify your strengths, and then you learn how to use your power in that. That's my personal belief system, and you can't force me into a corner with close-ended questions, which is what they try to do, which is what they didn't like. That's what triggered them. They try to force me into answering the question. I'll tell you what that question is in a second, but let's finish this. He said, "It shall be well with you." She said, "Which one is sexual polarity? Are you God?" She said the English started her. She thought she was in Abeokuta. She said, you see those people that speak English, if you're not careful, if you not go to ordinary primary school like this, they will destroy your life. All right, now here's what happened. I'll bring you up to speed. There's a shout out to Kwemo. She follows us here. I think she's a silent follower, but anytime she sees me in George Risi's, this is George Risi, her name is George Risi. They speak Yoruba on the platform. They are empowering women over there, and they come from an angle of there's no leader, There's no man is the leader of the household. It's companionship, period, 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 space, space, blank, blank. I understand where they're coming from. I don't argue semantics. I hate arguing semantics. I think at the end of the day, when you listen to them long enough, they still want a man to lead. But it's okay. I'll just leave it alone, right? But they try to force me into a box. And so anytime I'm in that Queen Mo sees me pop up in the chat and I say one liner, usually I would say one liner and I would just leave. After a while, I would last one, I would leave, because they say Yoruba, they always talk about Oku Atiobo. They talk about all this nasty Yoruba stuff. So sometimes sometimes they dig in deeper and they are saying some interesting stuff. That's not all they say there. So she saw me and they said something about relationship and I made a statement. And this Queen Mo, she's done that a few times. She just brings me up without so I just kind of accept because I still have to accept. So then I say so I've made a few submissions there before. So this time around they said, so is there a leader in the family? I said yes. Who is the leader of the household? I said the man. So they kept arguing back and forth about, well, it can be anybody. I said yes, of course it can be anybody. They said, well, I'm contradicting myself. That can it be anybody? Or I said no, it can be no. If you ask, I said, so I was trying to explain. No, don't explain, no explain. They want to force me into a yes or no. They said, who is the leader of the household? Okay, I don't mind if you put me into that box, by the way. I will answer you straight up. It's the man. Not only is it the man, if you ask him what he's supposed to be a man. That's just the way I'm set up. And that's the way society is set up, by the way. It's not only men that's asking for that. Women literally expect a man to be a leader. And that's where the disappointments come from. Because if you didn't expect a man to be a leader, when you find yourself in crisis or conflict, you would just lead. You would just be a woman and just lead it. You won't say, these men are weak these days. You won't say things like that, right? You would just take on the mantle, the responsibility, the same way I ask men to do. You will take it on, and then you will lead the situation out of the funk. They didn't let me explain this. So what happened is that I had to leave. I said, guys, I have to go. Because they kept trying to put me on a hot seat and stuff like this. I had to leave. And the other lady, Yankee Babe, she tried to do try to see if they can gotcha moment. But, it's kind of hard to do gotcha moment with me because I listen a lot and I'm very patient. I try to be. So I left. But as I was doing some other things, they started to say that stuff. So I screen recorded it. Eventually, I was like, okay, they don't really know me. So I came back, and then they had the longer conversation, and then eventually they started singing "Suru la fin shoko obìnrin," which means patience is required to become a husband of a woman. And in my brain, I'm like, okay, so you still want the man to lead with patience? Okay, I said okay, but that's what happened. Basically, I thought I would bring it to the Prestige family. I do think I'm dangerous, okay? Because any person who is at least minimum, you don't even have to be perfect. If you have self-awareness about active listening, that it's a weapon of mass destruction, literally. No, that's not a talking point. The idea of being able to listen actively, which means you're bringing value, which means you're actually trying to understand the person beyond what they're saying. Because English is not our mother tongue. Yoruba is, right? And many of us struggle with making the point we want to make between Pidgin, Yoruba, English, Igbo. We struggle. If you have that level of patience where you can actually try, the awareness, forget that you can actually try, the awareness that that's what you're supposed to do, that makes you very, very dangerous. Dangerous in a good way, but actually can be used in a bad way. Do you understand what I'm saying? It can actually be used for evil. But a lot of the people they're trying to accuse, their ex-husbands or husbands or men that they're trying to accuse are not that intentional. Those ones are not dangerous. If you know what you're doing, you become dangerous for them. Okay? Because if somebody is acting out of their emotions all the time, or they're crying about African culture, how women are no longer in African culture, that's a man crying from his place of emotions. If you pay attention, that's a pattern. If you pay attention to the pattern, well, if you listen long enough, you will hear the pattern. You'll know what to do with it. I'm not asking you to be a therapist for them, by the way, because that's too much for one human being. What I'm saying is just the awareness will at least help you self-preserve yourself. Can that make you dangerous? Yes. Can you use that for evil? Yes, but that's not what she meant. Okay, but when you say some talking points are dangerous, well, if people start to learn certain things, it can actually be used wrongly too. But I'm always teaching from a standpoint of, hey, learn this stuff. Learn this stuff. You're a good guy already. You got good character, all this nice stuff. Cool. You think you're a good person? Good for you. So you don't have to force learning that. What you need to learn is, don't get caught up in your emotions so quick. If somebody is moving a certain type of way that makes you feel some type of way, why don't you listen a little bit longer? Make it awkward for them. Because they're not used to somebody listening like that. There's nothing in the street. They're not used to people actually caring enough about what you're trying to say, not just what you said. Because most people will tag on to what you said, and you will think that they want to use it for the favor of the relationship, but actually they will just overreact and just become even more of a mess, you know. So I appreciate those ladies. Eventually, when I came back on, they received me well, and they said, and some men actually came up there, they overreacted. Some men started calling them out of their names and started saying, that's why you're not in your husband's house anymore. I didn't have my camera on, so I was just smiling in the background. So eventually they started to give me props that, oh, at least I could have conversation with them. I said, it's okay. It's all good. I'm not married to any one of these people, so it is what it is. But every relationship, inevitably, we enter this place of conflict, of crisis, and it's easier said than done. And it is not easy because you're caught up in your emotions, right? And for you to put that aside for a second, temporarily, to say, let me understand where this person is coming from, is a skill set. You will never be perfect at it. It's something, because every time you come from this corner, they come from another corner. So it's something you have to just keep aware of. But that's that. Hi, Biba. Good to see you, Biba. Good to see you. That's that with that. But let me know what your thoughts are. Let me see. Maya says, we don't tell you, say you're in boat too much. I know you guys have been telling me for a long time. Everybody has been telling me. Uncle Benny say, finally, God is good. Bro, you're about to blow. Amen. Let's say amen to that. I don't know what blow means, but I think I know. But yeah, good to see everybody. So let's talk about Pastor Kingsley, shall we? Let's bring Pastor Kingsley now, finally, to the stage. Let's talk about it. Okay, but if you like what I'm doing here, you can relate. I don't teach people what to do. I just highlight some things. I try to shed light from my perspective. My perspective tend to be multiple perspectives, which is why people say I'm on a fence. Okay, they've been calling me I'm on a fence since Clubhouse, since 2020. I get it. Okay, I'm just trying to get people to be a little bit more to pay a little bit more attention to beyond just their own emotions. If you like what I'm doing, please help, like, share, subscribe, turn up your notifications so you're notified when we go live. I'll be right back.
It's your love that I've been missing. I miss all your hugs, your touching and kissing. Me love on the floor, the couch in the kitchen. One love enough, we done enough.